Oh, hey guys, look! Ooh, set photos of one of the most anticipated superhero films that Disney has on their slate right now. Oh, look at Ryan Reynolds. He's finally back in the Deadpool costume, and Hugh Jackman is back in the Wolverine costume, and it looks comic accurate. Oh my god! Why is Disney releasing this stuff all of a sudden? Why are these set photos releasing right now? Now, I'll keep it a buck, okay? I like Wolverine a lot. I was part of the generation that grew up with, the X-Men, Spider-Man, Gargoyles, animated shows growing up. So yeah, I've got a specific fondness, and the suit does look pretty good, but I'm also not taking the bait, because I also, take a look and understand that Disney right now, oh my god, they're trying to recoup any sort of losses that they've been suffering. This is all smokescreen nonsense, because over the weekend, apparently, Harrison Ford, legendary curmudgeon. Okay, there's a couple of things that are well known about Harrison Ford. Being a total badass in the 80s, being the guy who just had a really tough time of keeping track of his family during the 90s, talking about his acting roles, and then in the 2000s and beyond, well, just being ancient, okay? And then on top of that as well, just being somebody who is a movie star, like absolutely 100% a movie star. Can't take that away from him. He's got that specific je ne sais quoi, if I can go ahead and take the only good thing that the French have ever offered us and use it to drive home a specific point. But on top of that, every single time he does an interview, he just always comes off as the most miserable dude in the entire room. So for him to give this heartfelt message of thanking both people that showed up to Indiana Jones, because holy shit, we actually got the completed box office results of this past weekend, and Indiana Jones 5, it's dead. It's dead. It's done. It's finished, guys. Because, it finished second, right? Fell off just about, 54.6%. Not quite as bad as the legendary drops that we've seen from the likes of the DC films of 77%. I guess that's a specific, unique disaster that Warner Brothers has to contend with. But Disney has one on their own, because there was no competition. Insidious 58 comes out, an indie film snipping at the heels of Indiana Jones. I know, I've talked about this a lot lately, but to just drive home the fact, this is one of those franchises that it's that franchise. Like, people have a certain amount of reverence, even with the reputational hit that it got from that weird film in 2008 that came out that had the Indiana Jones name on it, but kind of like Dan Crenshaw and Ron DeSantis, they're an Indiana Jones name, or an Indiana Jones film in name only. And then this one right here, it's like, wow, this is like Rocky. Actually, no, fair analogy right here. Indiana Jones 5 is Rocky 5. It's like, wow, this franchise is fucking dead. It has the biggest release window, okay? It's got the most screens, the most theaters. You can see it right there. 4,600 screens. Something that has nearly half of that with Sound of Freedom, which talked about in just the previous video. $100 per theater, as opposed to the $5,900 per theater that Indiana Jones got, and it has a bigger release schedule, and it just barely eked out. Barely eked out, and then still got the brakes beat off of it by Insidious. 4, or I think we figured it out yesterday. It was the 5th one in the franchise, after it just kind of had a reputational dip as well, and it has 1,400 fewer screens. That's why they had to wheel 81-year-old Harrison Ford out there to go, hey, thanks, guys. It's been for more than 40 years. I've been honored to be your Indiana Jones. No, that's all right. We only kind of remember the first 9 years, and outside of that, and it's all fine. It's just a dream sequence for the other times that you rolled around. And hey, Harrison Ford does have a fondness in his heart for this specific role. There was some rumors and conjecture. I don't know how true this is, but the only reason that he would reprise his role as Han Solo in The Force Awakens in 2015 is if he got to do this specific film right here, because he likes being Indiana Jones. Why? Because Indiana Jones is a cool motherfucker. At least he used to be. Not this old, decrepit piece of shit that got rolled onto the screen in order to be derided by some insufferable feminist millennial horse. Like, who the fuck cares about that shit? But everybody turned out for Indiana Jones. He became a joke. Word of mouth spread, and it doesn't really matter what's going on after this, because this was the last weekend to make any money. And as we can see from the box office right here, any money is meaning that you guys are going to end up losing. Now, this is just simply the domestic box office. $122 million domestically. What do we got worldwide? Sorry, I still got the borked setup, so you're going to have to trust me when it comes to the numbers that I have here. But Indiana Jones kind of looks like it's going to end up, it's ranked 12th on the year, but we still haven't got, you know, some of the more heavy hitters to come out in the next couple of weeks that come through. So it's not going to crack the top 10 when it comes to box office earnings throughout the rest of the year. And even internationally, it has only garnered $127 million. So for a grand total of, we'll just call it 250, okay, if we can even believe that. And even without conspiracy theorizing that, you can take a look at the pictures of the people that are watching this film in the theaters, not being surrounded by anybody except for dust bunnies and buckets of popcorn left over from previous screenings. Really doesn't suss out that there's all that much interest, and even the fact that it made a few $1 million over the past year, on-the-ground evidence doesn't really comport to the numbers that are out there, but even still, taking a look at the raw data, this film's going to lose $100 million. Think about that. Think about these. In '89, at the release of Last Crusade, you're telling the people that are, you know, satisfied with the conclusion of that film, and you tell them in a couple of decades' time that they would go ahead and, you know, try to give Indiana Jones another proper send-off, you know, just give him his last final hurrah, and it was going to be a monumental flop. People would be hard-pressed to think, well, first of all, they'd be asking, you know, okay, what kind of a time traveler are you? This is the 80s, after all. But then also saying, what, after those 3 films that we just watched, there's going to be another one that's going to be that derided and nobody's going to want to go see it? I don't believe you at all. That's a sorry state of affairs for Disney, and that's probably the best that it's going to get, because the rest of their releases throughout for the rest of the year, boy, don't really think that the Marvels is going to do much better, but that's fine. And it wasn't even anticipated, but it was equally hilarious that Sound of Freedom nipping on the heels of Indiana Jones. But the big mood killer was always going to end up being Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 7, which in some places apparently early previews are open, and a lot of people love this shit. Like, it seems like it's going to be that blockbuster everybody anticipated it was going to be, and $1 billion very much looks like it's going to be on the horizon, and it's going to be flatlining just about anything else, because it's interesting. Yesterday or Friday, regardless, Robert Downey Jr. in promotion, I use promotion with huge scare quotes, decided to come out and say something abjectly stupid about how men shouldn't be in charge, we should be in a global matriarchy, in support of Oppenheimer. That's going to be coming out. And tomorrow, pay attention, there's going to be another video coming out about Barbie, the other big film. I can't believe that that's a big film on the release schedule, but it's going to be out there, and that one is still taking a reputational hit, and really in the ways that's kind of leading to a lot of boycotts, and truly analogous to a lot of other societal issues that are out there. So you guys could not be approaching this from a worse vector on the lead up to the release, but I'll save that can of worms for tomorrow. But the only thing that has incredibly good press surrounding it is Mission Impossible 7. Everybody's looking forward to it. Even the people that were just kind of like, Oppenheimer, it'll probably be good. You know, Chris Nolan's name on it. I'll remember. You remember The Dark Knight? I remember The Dark Knight. That was good. You remember Memento? I remember Memento. You like Inception? Nah, shit's weird. Anyways, Tom Cruise has achieved impressive Rotten Tomatoes record with new Mission Impossible movie. Wow. Even before its official release. It's supposed to be coming out on Wednesday, but yeah, some people, I think over in the UK, some form of pre-releases have been made, and their reviews have been out for a little while, and everybody is singing its praises. Tom Cruise has earned an impressive Rotten Tomatoes, again, Rotten Tomatoes, who the fuck actually cares at the end of the day, feat, thanks to the new Mission Impossible film. The film franchise is about to release its 7th outing. I think that this is supposed to be this, because it's going to be a 2-part story, the conclusion, I guess, but if it's going to be making this much money, I highly doubt that's going to be the conclusion, with the second part due to arrive in 2024. Reviews for Dead Reckoning, sorry, not Day of Reckoning, different film, part 1 have been glowing, with its score of review aggregate site Rotten Tomatoes currently sitting at 98% after 171 reviews. It was hilarious, because if you want to compare and contrast that with Indiana Jones, it was sitting at about once all of the accredited reviewers had the opportunity to watch the film at Cannes Film Festival, mostly in stunned silence and hushed tones that, wow, that Phoebe Waller-Bridge chick ain't fucking funny at all. So, no, it ended up garnering a response of in the high 50s, so it's just, it's always going to be hilarious, okay? Because whenever there's a film, and we'll be able to already, hear the headlines on the horizon already being typed out and ready to go the moment that the review embargo drops. Oh, Rotten Tomatoes scores are being bombarded by toxic trolls. But it's going to be really funny to see the critics score and the audience score pretty much match up when it comes to Mission Impossible, and not a peep will be coming from the commentary class. Oh, you guys only like it because there's a straight white male in the lead, and that there's feminine and good supportive female characters in the film. Okay, cool, then why do the critics like it? Shucks, you got me on that one. I'm sure it'll be that cordial. With the film, the Mission Impossible franchise, which launched in 1996 with Brian De Palma's original. 96, holy shit. I remember, okay, for a short period of time when we first moved, because in 1996 we first moved to Grand Prairie, my family and I, okay, we first moved there, and for a very short time, had a couple of uncles we lived with. They lived in the basement of the place that we were living at the time, and whenever I think of a VHS movie, I always remember the Mission Impossible VHS tape. I forget which uncle it was, but he had that and he watched that all the time. So yeah, while I don't think that I've ever specifically watched a Mission Impossible film, I know, right? But I don't really watch that many films anymore. The fact that it all started out, and yeah, the original one, it's famous for its being lowered down for the roof with a cable shot. Y'all know the White Room, okay? Tom Cruise spread eagle with all the cables, lowering them into the room in order to steal something and then just go out. It was James Bond turned up to 11, but now it's kind of become what it seems to be from reviews that are out there. A little bit more of a refined espionage spy thriller, as opposed to the halcyon days of James Bond with Sean Connery and Roger Moore, and a little bit more comprehensive than, most of Daniel Craig's output, which, like Skyfall, Casino Royale is one of my favorite films ever, but I don't remember a goddamn thing from Quantum of Solace, but it seems to be outside of which Mission Impossible film does everybody hate, number 2 or number 3 or whatever. Outside of that, as you can see, there's a screenshot that's down here as well. Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, Fallout, and now Dead Reckoning Part 1. Yeah, everybody loves that shit. Ever since it had a little bit of a resurgence. And also taking a look at what the box office expectations are to look like, okay, 3-day opening weekend, but remember this opens on a Wednesday, so it's actually going to be a pretty good apples to apples comparison to the ridiculously long and uninterrupted opening weekend that Indiana Jones got from dropping on Thursday and then also having Independence Day long weekend. You're going to be able to make, yes, that apples to apples comparison, okay? Well, they're anticipating for the weekend $65 to $80 million. I would imagine by the time that word of mouth gets out there, we might be seeing on the other end of that. But then the domestic total range, what they're anticipating is $250 to $320 billion. Oh, $250 billion, $320 million. Not that much money. Like, it's going to be a success, but not that big of a success. Christ almighty. That'd be fucking something. I might have to break my own embargo and go see that shit if it's going to be making $320 billion. But no, man. I'd imagine that shit's going to be breaking records come Monday. And why? Why exactly? Because not a lot of people put a lot of stock in the Rotten Tomatoes score, especially from the critics side. And the audience, yeah, the good word of mouth is going to make the success seem a little bit more palatable. And it's a great way to come full circle on this video right here. Because, okay, Indiana Jones dying a death. Wheel out old Harrison Ford to give thanks for showing up. I really appreciate it. Who's the guy who kicked off that entire trend? Hey, thanks for coming back to the theaters. Really happy that you guys could come out and enjoy this film that we worked so hard on. It all came from Tom Cruise. And now that he's going to be back in the box office, he's going to be back in the theaters, just providing you that good form of escapist entertainment. That sincerity, that genuine approach is going to be rewarded. And I look forward to cataloging it when we do see it. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.